After being pushed under the covers for centuries, mental disorders and overall mental health has finally taken a more prominent position in the eyes of the public. Since March of 2020, one particular disorder has been given some much deserved attention, it being Dissociative Identity Disorder, or DID for short. The conversation was started by the YouTuber Anthony Padilla, who had a conversation with three people, or rather, three systems, and broadcasted it to his following of 4 million subscribers. And although the video got a lot of well-meaning eyes on the topic, it also got more questionable voices to come out. Another YouTuber, Trisha Paytas, seemingly rode the coattails of this newfound attention and came out herself as having the disorder. However, in her video we can see that she has never been professionally diagnosed with DID, nor was she ever informed about the topic, as she stated some pretty damaging mistruths about the disorder to her audience of 5 million. She even called one of the systems from Anthony's video crazy, showing how much understanding she actually had surrounding the topic. The system in question includes a host called Nin, who along with all the other alters strive to educate her audience on the disorder. In that spirit, we would also like to put our hat into the ring and share some important information regarding the disorder. Note that this isn't all there is to know, it is only to disprove some stigmas and to hopefully encourage you to do more research on your own. With that said, let's begin. Here are the 10 most important facts about Dissociative Identity Disorder. Number 10. Alters. Probably the most talked about aspect of disorders is that of alters. An oversimplified definition would be that alters are alternative or separate identities that share a body. And this is important to remember. They are separate, and they are full-fledged identities. They are not just a personality trait, or a quirk, or a single sentiment. Alters can differentiate amongst themselves in as many categories as any two people can. They can be of different age, sex, race, personality, belief, and even species. Even on the physical spectrum, alters can vary, regardless of the fact that they share one body. They can have different heart rates, blood pressures, reactions to medicine, immune functions, and so on. So do not oversimplify an alter. They are not just the angry one or the promiscuous one. They have as many complexities as any other person, and you should treat them as such. 9. Types of alters. They can, however, have somewhat of a distinct function. Just like your parents should protect you, your friends should support you, and your significant other should love you, systems tend to have alters that can be described as fitting into a category predetermined by the conscience in order to survive. This is perhaps most evident in the protector alter, who is usually tasked with keeping all the other alters and their shared body in check, so that the system isn't damaged or destroyed. The protector may also seek out any threats in interpersonal relationships, if someone is being abusive or manipulative. You also have the gatekeeper, who also protects a system by deciding which alter has access to which memories as well as which alter can front in the system. Which brings us to the next point. Number 8. Fronting. When describing what fronting is, it is best to imagine the body as a huge machine with many people operating inside of it. An alter fronts by metaphorically sitting behind the steering wheel and perceiving the outside world and controlling the body. Staying with the metaphor, if only one person is driving and the others are doing something else, only that one person knows what is happening around them. But the key word is if, as alters can be co-conscious, meaning that multiple alters are aware, or even co-host, meaning that they both are aware and can control the body one after another. Number 7. Switching. Switching is the act of consciousness going from one alter to another. So if you're talking about a single host situation, it means that the current alter goes back into the machine, while another starts hosting the body. With switching, there are a few things to keep in mind. Firstly, a system can be overt or covert, which we will get into in a second. But in terms of switching, what this means is that the switch can be either extremely subtle or very evident. Secondly, switches can have different time frames depending on the system and the kind of switch, so they can happen within a few seconds or slowly and continuously happen for hours. This is good to keep in mind if someone you know has DID, so that you know that switches are not always easily recognizable nor predictable. Number 6. Overt versus covert. Systems with DID, as well as other dissociative disorders like OSDD systems, can be overt or covert. What this means is that, as hinted at previously, the presence of the disorder can be more evident, overt, or extremely subtle, covert. This is important because a huge majority of system is actually covert, meaning that a lot of people may not even realize they have the disorder. Alters may appear as a passive influence, meaning that you might start acting or thinking more in tone with one of your alters without realizing what is happening. You might just feel like there are voices in your head or that you lose control sometimes. So just because it's not blaringly obvious does not mean the disorder isn't present. On the other hand, just because a system has a very evident switch, it does not mean the host is being dramatic or over-exaggerating. They simply have an overt system. Number 5. The inner world. Something that we have personally learned about DID through the system Nina is a part of, and their YouTube channel called Dissociative DID, is a presence of an inner world. As a name might suggest, it is a world created by the conscious where the alters coexist. For Nin, this inner world is a giant house with multiple floors and rooms where the alters reside. They can, in a sense, meet up in a certain room and communicate with each other or be completely isolated. This is also where their alters might go when the body is asleep. We feel that this piece of information gives a really insightful look into the complex mind of a system, which is why we put it on this list. Number 4. Number of alters, integration. The number of a system's alters is not set in stone. A system can gain more alters if faced with trauma, or just with the progression of time. Alters can also integrate, meaning 2 or more alters can form a singular alter. This isn't a conscious choice, but rather the brain deciding to put down the barriers that separated those 2 alters. The new alter is a mix of the previous 2, but is also a completely new identity. For example, the host Nin was in a way born with the integration of 2 alters called Nina and Chloe. This doesn't mean that Nina and Chloe are dead, but rather that they make up this new alter and personality called Nin. Number 3. Symptoms. As mentioned under the 6th entry, the disorder is hard to identify, so knowing the symptoms might give you at least the slightest clue. The first symptom stated by psychiatry.org is the existence of 2 or more distinct identities, or personality states. This of course refers to alters and can manifest in noticeable changes in behavior. Secondly, there is a significant sense of distress or problems in social, occupational, or other areas of functioning. And lastly, a point we haven't touched upon yet is gaps in memory. Because alters are separate entities, they don't have to share their memories with the host or the other alters. In some cases, an alter may even consciously choose to keep certain memories entirely to themselves. Most notably, the persecutor may keep the most negative memories to themselves in order to protect the system. The latter part leads me to the next somewhat tragic point. Number 2. Causes. Having DID is your brain trying to protect you. It is usually caused by severe trauma that your brain finds too harmful for you, so it disassociates, often having only the persecutor remembering what caused the trauma. The trauma is usually from early childhood and is most commonly caused by physical abuse or rape. This is of course an enormous oversimplification, but this is what we touched upon at the very beginning, why Trisha Paytas calling Nin crazy is so harmful. People with DID or any other disorder are not weak. They can be just as strong and successful as anyone else, but causing negative emotions to a system in that manner only shows ignorance of what the disorder entails. Systems with DID may have self-destructive alters, and on top of that, they are heavily stigmatized as popular media has given some very crooked views on this disorder. So please, do not pity systems with DID, but be aware that they have gone through a lot. Lastly, we have a treatment. Number 1. Treatment. To be frank, there is no medication that can directly affect DID. It can be used to mitigate some of the symptoms, but therapy is always needed. therapy can help for all the alters to integrate and to face a previously tucked away trauma, letting the system function more easily in the world. And as to how one can help themselves, the National Alliance on Mental Illness suggests 3 things. Firstly, it is to keep a journal to help improve awareness. Secondly, one can use techniques called mindfulness, which rely on the sense in order to guide yourself back to the present. Lastly, it is to let your alters emerge. Making sure that they come out to a safe and welcoming place may allow them to have experiences that were taken away from you in your childhood. It also always helps to be a part of a community, and to be well educated on the matters. So in the descriptions we will leave a bunch of YouTubers you can watch as well as some helpful websites. We hope this video helped and that the stigma surrounding DID will disappear with time and effort. If you found this video interesting, consider giving it a like as well as subscribing and telling us your opinion on the matter in the comment section below.